political situations. Maybe we just, Cold War II starts up or something like that, and we're just, either we're in a situation where we've wiped ourselves out, or we're about to wipe ourselves out, or just for whatever reason, maybe we just don't like the government anymore, and a group of 1,000 people gets together and says, let's go to Mars instead. This place is just not worth it anymore. So there's that side of it. Every good story needs some kind of a conflict, and so I started breaking that down into a little bit. I haven't filled this out very much, but so you got your personal conflicts, personal, political, environmental, and that could be the Earth dying or something like that. Religious and ideological is always a possibility. Again, to the Mayflower idea, where they were going to the New World to be able to exercise their own religious beliefs, kind of thing. Mass casualty, plague, asteroid, mass extinction. I'm kind of throwing that all in together. And then there's also subplots, which I haven't broken that down at all, and I completely spelled that wrong. Isn't this fun? Whoops. Gotta remember how to use the software too. I spell the hard words right and I miss little words. Yeah, good thing you can't see this yet. So, and also personality, both conflicts and attractions. I'm going to probably group that all together, so I'm going to go ahead and type that in now. Personalities, insert attractions, and what's so cool about using a mind mapping program like this is you can just start writing and move things around. You can grab a whole subtree and drop it into another subtree, or bring them up and down. And when I start doing chapter outlines after I've got this kind of fleshed out, I'll be able to just go, chapter 1, or I'll do probably if I was a real author, I'd know these words. Yeah. I'm going to start with an outline, and it's going to be in phases. So there's the initial idea of, gee, we should go to Mars, and then there's the mission planning phase, and then there's leaving Earth, getting to orbit phase, and then there's the actual transit phase of going across the Atlantic, right? Let's go from Earth orbit to Mars orbit. Then there's going to be the early years of establishing the colony, but still living in space probably. And then we'll deorbit, and at some point it'll be just maybe a skeleton crew left to keep the spaceship intact, or maybe they'll completely cut off ties to space and go fully ground-based again. But I think there would be a lot of good reasons for leaving a space station for communications. You could use the solar wings on the space station as your power source, because it makes a lot more sense. Just have a big power station up in orbit. So, okay, so yeah, when I'm using mind mapping, I could make those 7 or 8 headings that I just said. Mission planning, original idea, mission planning, leave Earth, transit, get there, deorbit, and then go from there. And this would be real easy to split up into multiple books even. But within each of those phases, I could have sub-chapters and actually write paragraphs. So you'd have like in English class when you wrote an essay, what's my main idea? And then so you'd have your introduction, 1 line, 3 paragraphs to establish the idea, and then your conclusion. Well, each one of those, introduction, idea 1, idea 2, idea 3, conclusion, are trees in mind map. And so then from there it's just, you kind of start filling it out, and then, by the time you're done, you hit, export to text file. Boom, here's a really solid outline. But before you export it, you could sit there and move ideas up and down the tree. And I picked up this idea from a guy named Bob Jenkins. He's on Facebook and Twitter, and Bob the Teacher. I think he practically lives his life in mind map here in free mind. He was explaining how this works one time, but if you were going to write a book, which is what we're talking about here anyway, so this works, but this is kind of where I got the idea. He was like, you start with your outline and go on, and he's like, in the beginning, you don't write the whole book, you just flesh out the ideas, because in your head, you already know the story. So why type it too much at this stage, because you can just throw up ideas and move them around and, get them all the way you want it and everything. And then you export it, and then you finish actually writing, and by that point, you hire an editor and let them write it for you, and you go off and start the next book. Something.